get a permanent patient to make money. Did you get this? No. I'll tell you how we produce diabetes in India. Most of you sitting here must have heard of a tablet called statin to lower your so-called cholesterol. I don't know what cholesterol is. 10% of people who start taking statins become diabetics within 6 months to 12 months. Which means, as far as my statistics at the moment tells me, 11 million people are on statins in India, which means 1.1 million diabetics we are producing every year. That will add to the so-called diabetic, what is called the epidemiology. I have written an article, and it was also an editorial in the Lancet, the leading medical journal. I said, epidemiologists cause epidemics. Supposing there are 2 cases of malaria in Ujjain, the paper will write, there's a malaria epidemic in Ujjain. If you read that, you get so frightened that your immune system gets completely suppressed and malaria will catch you. So I have been struggling to tell the so-called health authorities all over the world, do not frighten the people because fear is the key. Fear is the key that kills you, and the fear is put in by us. And ultimately what matters is our immune system. When Morarji Desai was drinking his own urine, the whole world was laughing at him. Whole world was laughing at him. Today, auto-urine therapy is scientifically proved to be a very powerful immune booster. We have hailed the germ theory. Actually, germs are not our enemies. Germs are our friends. Germs are us. In our body, in every human chromosome, while there are 23 to 25,000 genes which belong to us, our parents and our grandparents and our ancestors, 2.5 trillion genes belong to germs of all kinds in the world. If you look at nature, that's what Wordsworth wrote, little do we see in nature that is ours. You see a little kid, if you have a kid at home, when it starts crawling, it goes to the corner, picks up the dust and puts it in the mouth. This is vaccination of the best variety. It is eating the germs to create the immune strength in its body. Today what we have done, we have sterilized our home, we have sterilized our glass, our tumbler, everything, so that the child has not met with germs at all and has not had any vaccination which is given by nature. And even if that child goes out, like an American child coming to India for the first time and drinking from an Indian tumbler, the child will get severe gastroenteritis. But the problem has become very acute in the West because the germs that we thought of our enemies and tried to kill them with antibiotics, antiseptic soaps and what have you, because there's a big industry behind it and it's the industry that is pushing it. And what has happened is their immune system is so low that when they get admitted to the intensive care units of the hospitals, which today have become a route to go to heaven, and that's where patients are killed, irrespective of what you go there initially with, you get what is called a nosocomial infection. That's the infection which is acquired in the hospital, which invariably kills you. Time was when in the 18th century, Alex will remember, in Britain when hospitals started, any patient who went to the hospital went to heaven. That's why it's called hospitalism. And the person who brought it down was Florence Nightingale. She was not a doctor, she was not even a nurse, because she was just a woman who looked after the sick with all her compassion. And mortality in the Crimean War, which was 100% of wounded soldiers, came down to 40% in 6 months after Nightingale came in there. What did she do? She called herself the general of buckets, soaps, and bread and bandage. All that she did was clean the wound, dress it, talk to them nicely, and give them the food that they needed very badly. Today we know the latest research in Oxford, in 4 universities actually, Oxford, Cambridge, Hamburg and Munich, together, led by an Oxford professor called Bingel, showed that even when you give a very powerful drug like morphia, morphia is the most powerful painkiller to a patient with severe pain, unless you tell the patient this is morphia and it's going to cure you, patient is not going to get pain relief at all. What they did was they were running morphia drip in a patient with severe pain, but told the patient, this is not morphia, this is a new vitamin we have found out for your disease. No patient got pain relief. On the contrary, the same patient, crossover, they were just running saline drip and told the patient, this is morphia, and everybody got pain relief. This is reductionist science, my dear friends. But these scientists did something more. They said, why does it happen? So they did what's called fMRI, functional MRI, which studies your brain at the same time. We showed that when the patient believed that this doctor is doing good to me, he is giving me morphia, even if it is saline, the brain produces painkillers from the forebrain and the pain completely disappears. Now, this is latest scientific research. Now, come back to yoga. You sit down and meditate and get into that state of mind where your mind produces opioids in the brain. There is this girl who should have got the Nobel Prize but was snatched away by her boss because boss took the credit and she fought it, and her name is Candace Pert. And Candace was the girl who showed for the first time that not only the brain but every cell has a mind, and that's called the opiate receptors outside. And Candace has written a book after she was thrown out of the palace. You know, in science we call it the NIH, the palace. They're all kings sit there. And then she was thrown out and she wrote a beautiful book for all of you, Molecules of Emotion, where she says, time has come for us not to reach to a tablet when you get a headache, but to sit in one corner and meditate. And when you become tranquil, your headache disappears.